Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome. How to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. I'm Dr. Paul. I'll be joining you live in about 7 minutes. 7 minutes till we go live with how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. I'm excited to have you here. We are also live streaming to YouTube right now. So if you're joining us on YouTube, hang tight. We will be ready to roll at the bottom of the hour in 6 minutes. We'll be starting soon. Hey, my friends, welcome, welcome, welcome. Couple of announcements here before we actually officially begin. We're starting in just a few minutes with a live masterclass, how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. We're just a few minutes out still from beginning. And if you're catching the live stream on YouTube, you might want to actually jump in drpauljenkins.com/parenting power up, all one word. That'll get you into the Zoom webinar with us, and then you can interact because I'm going to be answering some questions live in just a little bit. We've got a full agenda here today, and I'm excited to join you for this live web class, how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. Those of you who are registered and you're in the Zoom room, I've got the Q&A turned on, so you can go to your Q&A section down there. Give me some questions because we'll be getting to those here in just a little bit at the end, and I'll explain all this when we officially start as well. But you will have the chance to raise your hand. I will do a little bit of live coaching if we have enough time at the end of the webinar. So I'm glad that you're here. The masterclass, how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. We are getting close to start time. I'll catch you in just a few minutes, about 4 minutes, and we'll begin. Hey, my friends, welcome. How to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. I am Dr. Paul Jenkins. We will be starting officially in about 3 minutes. I have a full agenda for you today in this master class. So settle in, get ready, have a beverage ready, stretch out a little bit if you need to, because we're going to work hard and I'm working for you today. All right, I've got you, parents. Let's start this in about 3 minutes. You're in the right place. Catch you in just a few. Hey folks, if you're just joining, you're in the right place. We will be starting in about 2 minutes. About 2 minutes before start time, how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. I'll be right back. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. How to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. Let's get started, shall we? Thank you for joining me here today. I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I am a professional psychologist, and I've got your back when it comes to parenting. You know, this is the most important job in the world, but we don't get a lot of training for it, and our kids don't come with an instruction manual. So as we get started here today, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, those of you who registered, thank you for being here live in this master class. I have turned on the Q&A, so put your questions in there. I am going to get back to your questions at the end today, okay? I'll be handling as many questions as I possibly can. Also, if you'd like to check in, I've turned on the chat. Let us know where you're listening from. Would love to just know where our audience is from. We've already got Nina checking in from Southern Arizona. Hey, Nina, thanks for coming. You can use the chat if you're here live. Now, some of you are catching our live YouTube stream. Hey, Mike from Madison, Wisconsin. You'll be on YouTube, and I'm here in the web class, so I'm not going to be able to interact with you, but we'll give you some opportunities of ways you can participate as well if you're listening from YouTube. We got Katie from Tampa. We've got Jenna from Nebraska, Saudi from Utah, Jim and Lauren from Northern New Jersey. Yes, welcome everyone. Greetings from Northern Illinois. Greetings to you, Don. Thank you all for being here. You can use the chat, but let me tell you also that if you have a question for me, a specific question, please come into the Q&A. That's where I'll be going for the questions later. I won't be able to monitor the whole chat, but you guys can interact with each other there. Now, let's just get up to speed with what's going to be happening today in our master class. Here we go. Okay, I think you can see my screen. Yes, there we go. All right, here's just a little bit of housekeeping as we get started, okay? First of all, I wanted to acknowledge many of you responded when I gave you an opportunity to participate here. Why are you here? Will you just ask yourself that? Why are you here? I'm getting some very consistent results. You want to stop yelling, right? Enough with all of the losing our cool. We're not the parents that we promised ourselves we would be sometimes. When we get frustrated, we're going to address that, okay? You also told me that you want to have more confidence as a parent so that you don't get tipped over easily. You've got it. And confident parents, you know, you've heard me hear this, or you've heard me say this before probably. If you've followed the YouTube channel or if you're here in our coaching programs, when parents are smiling, kids are thinking. How would you like to have the kind of confidence that allows you to show up with a smile? And of course, you want that more peaceful home environment. Is that why you're here? Because that's why I'm here too. I want to help you to accomplish all of those things. thank you to those of you who actually wrote in with what you're expecting and what you're hoping for today. As a quick introduction, I am Dr. Paul Jenkins. I'm going to keep myself hydrated. You guys can do the same. That's what happens in a live event. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have been practicing psychology now for 3 decades, and I've helped literally hundreds of families to achieve the things that we're talking about here, having less conflict in their homes, more peace through proven programs and models of positive psychology that I have been developing and researching over the past 3 decades. I'm bringing that to the table for you today. As we meet together here today, here's what you can expect. I'll first go over the 4 essential elements to master parenting, okay? Did you know that you can master this? There's 4 essential elements. I'm going to share those with you. We'll be spending most of our time here on number 2, the model that every parent needs to know. And I wish they would have taught us this back in school, but we didn't get it in school, so you're going to get it here today. I did come with a special offer for you. You know, sometimes when you sign up for a free masterclass, you're like, okay, what's the pitch? I have a pitch, and I'm so excited to share it with you because this is something that's actually going to move the dial for you. And don't worry about it. If you're not interested in what I have to offer, that's totally fine, because it's not for everyone. But I'm guessing if you're a parent and you're ready to take this game to the next level, I think you're going to like what I have to offer. And then I'm going to have a little bit of time at the end to answer your questions. So once again, if you have a question, I know some questions are popping up in the chat already. Please go to the Q&A. If you're here live in the masterclass on Zoom, now those of you who are on YouTube, go ahead and put your questions in the chat feature there at YouTube, and I'll try to get to them or have a member of my staff go monitor those a little later. But for those who registered and you're here, go to the Q&A. That's where I'm going to be checking for the questions in just a little bit when we get to that point. Okay? Sound good to everybody? All right, let's come off of this screen for just a minute. There's 4 elements. There's probably more. I'm getting excited, you guys. Hang on. All right, I'm just going to slow it down just a little bit so that you can get these 4 elements. There's 4. Okay, number 1. This surprises some people, but just go with it. Personal development. Personal development. That's the first essential element to master parenting. Now, you'll notice that's not even about your kids, but what do you bring to the table? You. And you are the most important asset that you can offer to your children. You've got to take care of yourself. You know, I'm reminded of this every time I get on an airplane, and I'm getting on one tomorrow, when they're going through the safety routine. You know, just before you take off, and they show you how to fasten a seatbelt just in case you've been in a coma for 20 years. But they get to this point where they say, if we ever lose cabin pressure, these very attractive oxygen masks are going to fall from the ceiling. Usually they're yellow. I don't know why. But you're supposed to grab those masks and put them on your face and fasten them on with the rubber band. You know the routine. And then they always tell us, if you are traveling with young children, or someone who needs assistance, put your own mask on first. And why did they say that? Because our natural instinct as a parent is to take care of our little one, right? Of course, because you've got a responsibility for that person. But why do they tell us to put our own mask on first? Look, if you're out cold in the aisle, you're in the way. You're part of the problem. So we have to take care of ourselves. That's absolutely essential. Are you with me on this? That's the first element of positive parenting. If you want to master parenting, take care of yourself. Element number 2. take care of the team. Team development and community is what the second element is all about. We have to take care of the team. Now, who's your team? If you are in a traditional single household, dual parent kind of a situation, then it's pretty obvious. Your team is your partner, your spouse, the other parent. But how many of us are in those traditional settings? You know what? I spent about 13 years of my career doing child custody evaluations for the court. This is yuck work. I promise. This is where bitter, angry, divorcing people can't figure out how to share their kids. And the court sent me in to sort that out. That's yuck work, you guys. But it often happens that we have a less traditional, or maybe not the family constellation that we planned on. Do you still have a team? Yes. Who is it that's on your team? Who helps you with these kids? Who supports you in the most important job in the world? These might be babysitters, caregivers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, people in your community, neighbors. Me! Look, I am on your parenting team. Take care of your team and nurture those relationships and build your resources. There's an old, there's Jeff hopping in the back room. Jeff, if you turn off your camera, we'll just let you stay there anonymously. I've got a team here in the back office. In fact, if some of you who are here live would like to ask a question, Jeff can start handling some of those questions right out of the chute as well. So your team, I've got a team. Jeff just showed up on my team, and I've got Natasha and Cindy and Lindy and some amazing people here on our team that help us to get things done at Live on Purpose. You've got a team. All right, so what have we covered so far? The first two. Personal development, you take care of yourself. Team development, you take care of your team and build it and strengthen it. Number three, the third element of essential positive parenting. If you want to master parenting, love your kids. Love your kids. What is your job? You know, a lot of times I ask this and I get good answers from lots of people in trainings that I've done or seminars that I've done or even in these web classes. What is your job as a parent? And I get answers like, well, to keep them safe and to make sure that they learn something, to make sure that they are good, strong, positive citizens, that they contribute to the community, to make sure they get their chores done, to make sure they do their homework. And I hear this common element, make sure that they think about it. Can you make sure that they anything? See, that's the trap. Our job, here's my favorite answer, to love them no matter what, and even if. Now we can play the even if game. Even if they hate you, have your kids ever thrown that at you? Yes, even if they hate you. Even if they fail at school. Yeah, even if they fail at school. Even if they break the law. Yes, even if they get their girlfriend pregnant. Ooh, can we talk about those things, Dr. Paul? Even if they're on drugs. Even if they hate me and disparage my name all over social media. Yeah, you get the picture, okay? Love them no matter what, and even if. Now, notice I'm not saying that you shouldn't set limits, because we're getting to number 4 next. All right, have you got 1, 2, and 3? Number 1, personal development. Number 2, team development. Number 3, love your kids. 4, discipline. You knew I would get to that one, and we're going to spend most of our time today on that. Okay, because that's the one that most people have. Well, maybe I need to rethink that. I was going to say that's the one most people have the challenges with. People have challenges with all 4 of these. And probably you do as well, which is fine. We all do, okay? Welcome to Earth. We're parents. But discipline is the one where we run into a lot of challenges, especially if we're not taking care of 1, 2, and 3. If you do a good job with the first 3 elements, this 4th one is going to be easier, I promise. And there's resources for all of them. Discipline usually is the one that triggers the most control battles, okay? Especially if we think our job is to make sure that they whatever. That's where we run into trouble. So the model that I'm about to share with you, this is the core of how to maximize your child's potential without losing your cool. And I'm going back to a model that was developed years ago. And let me just pull my slide back up. Where were we? Okay, here it is. Found it. I've got 2 computers going today, you guys. I'm doing the computer shuffle. All right, this is where we left off. Okay, so take some notes. You guys, if you have something available to take some notes because this is the thing that all parents need to understand. There's an interplay between control and maturity. Control meaning control over your own life. And I put that on this graph that I'm showing you right here on the up and down axis. That's called the y-axis, I think. You can have 0 control, that's clear down at the bottom, or you can have 100% control, that's way up at the top, or you can have something in between. And usually it's something in between. Now let's look at maturity. That's down on the x-axis, the one on the bottom, the side-to-side axis. The most common way we think about maturity is age. So if we start this out at the lower end, that's where we're born. And then the upper end is where we become adults. I'm only apologizing a little bit, but I'm going to take a little side trip because I just got to meet over Zoom my 7th grandchild. My little granddaughter was just born the day before yesterday, and she is so sweet. And you know, when you come into the world, I'm looking at this little girl, and she can open her eyes. She's got that going for her. She can make a few little sounds. But really, she can do very little for herself. Human babies are so helpless. You know, I visited Africa a few months ago, and we see these baby giraffes and baby hippopotamus and baby rhinoceros and baby lions or whatever, right? And they kind of hit the ground running. A lot of them, not humans. Humans are really vulnerable for quite a while. And so as I look at this precious little granddaughter that was just born this week, I'm reminded about exactly what I'm sharing with you. So let's go back to the model. When you are first born, how much control do you have over your own life? Hardly any, right? So you'll see I've drawn a diagonal line here. At birth, we don't get to have much control. It's very near 0. As an adult, how much control do you have? Now, most of you who are here on the call are adults. And I don't get a lot of kids who sign up for these master classes, okay? There may be a few younger people here, but you're an adult, right? When I ask teenagers, how much control do the adults have? What do you think they tell me? Oh, 100%. See, they haven't written all the small print. They don't know yet that there's a few little disclaimers, right? And so we get in our head as adults and we're like, well, I don't have that much control. Well, when I ask kids how much control do the adults have, they're like, oh, they got all of it. They've got all kinds of control, right? They're going to learn. I mean, let's keep feeding them and stuff and they'll learn. But Adults, just for purposes of our discussion here, we're going to say that they have 100%. Okay. So going back to our model, you see the line starts low, ends high. So we've got this diagonal line. The more mature you are, the more control you get. You with me? All right, now let's take a look at a little different measure. Well, and first an acknowledgement. The part over the line, that space, is the control that other people take. The part under the line is the part you get for yourself. Now, this is true for you, it's true for your kids. So with my little granddaughter, for example, she can't do anything for herself, so others have to control her whole life. All right, I have another granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter just turned 9. Of the 7 kids, they're the bookends, okay? And my oldest granddaughter just turned 9 years old. She's got a lot more control. So she does more for herself, and her parents have to do less for her. And she's still a kid. Okay, but all of my children are adults. My baby is 26. My youngest child is 26 years old. Sometimes people ask me, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, none. I used to have kids, but they've all grown up. They're adults. All right. And they're pretty much running the show for themselves. Are you with me? Okay. So just get it in your head. There's self-control. There's others' control. Why is this important for parents? Because we're the others. All right. I mean, we're the self too, because we have to have our own stuff in a pile to do this well. But we're the ones who come in on the top part and take the control from our kids, or take it on their behalf. That's a better way to say it. We control things on their behalf because they're not mature enough yet to do it themselves. You with me? Okay. Now let's move on, because you've noticed I've taken age out of the equation. And we have divided this into 3 stages. So we're going to talk from now on stage, not age. In fact, say that with me. Will ya? It's kind of fun. Now, if you got people around you and stuff, do it anyway. Get over your fear of embarrassment. They'll enjoy it. If you're driving or whatever, just try this. Stage, not age. Okay, say it with me. Stage, not age. Do it again. Stage, not age. Let's get it into our head that we have to start thinking in terms of stage, not age. Because, as you and I have both noticed, there are very young children on this planet who are pretty precocious. They're very mature for their age. They are responsible. They do things well. They are polite and well-mannered. You're like, Dr. Copal, that's not my kid. I know, because we all know kids and teenagers and even adults who are pretty darn immature and irresponsible and hard to live with, don't we? Yeah. So we're taking age out of the equation, and we're talking stage, not age. Remember, you did it with me. Okay. Stage, not age. Now, what does stage mean? Let's get into that next, because this is the crux of the model. Okay, here we go. Bring that slide back up. Stage, not age. So what do these stages look like? Let's start at the lower end. And honestly, this is why people reach out to me. This is what people want to know, because their kids are driving them nuts with stage 1 behavior. Stage 1 is the least mature. At stage 1, we are selfish, very focused on me, me, me. I want what I want, and I want it now. It tends to be really demanding and manipulative. At stage 1, we fight to try to get what we want, and not in any appropriate way. I'm talking, I'm going to beat somebody up to get to what I want. All right. Stage 1 is demanding. uncooperative, manipulative. I've given you a few adjectives here. Put these in your notes. At stage 1, we throw tantrums. Okay, another little caveat. I have to share with you as we go because I'm living life right along with y'all. And I just got home last night from visiting my grandson. He was the youngest until this granddaughter was born. Separate families, different parts of the country. In fact, Vicki and I now have 7 grandchildren, 0 of which live in our state. What's up with that? Anyway, don't get me going on that one. We were visiting our previously youngest grandson. He's 1 year old. He just turned 1. We went to visit him for his birthday. And there was a time when he wanted something and he didn't get it. And what did he do? He pitched a royal hissy fit. He threw a tantrum. His face got all screwed up and he was like, stage 1. Now, hopefully you're thinking, well, Dr. Paul, he's 1. Yes, he is. But we're talking stage, not age. We expect a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, sometimes a 5 or 6-year-old to be on stage 1. We hope that by the time they're teenagers, they move out of that. I mean, this kid wakes up in the middle of the night and he's like, Mom, bring me something to eat. I'm unhappy. Stage 1, you don't care about how your impact affects other people. You're probably not even tuned into it, and we don't expect a 1-year-old to be. So it's age appropriate. We wouldn't say he's being immature, although he is, because a 1-year-old is supposed to be immature. What if your 17-year-old is waking up and saying, Mom, bring me something to eat? Now we got a problem. Stage, not age. Stick with me. This gets even more fun. What happens when we move to stage 2? At stage 2, we stop fighting and we start cooperating. Did you feel that when I said it? It's like, oh, that would be so nice. Yes, because look, your work as a parent, remember, you're on the top of the line as a parent. Okay, that's how much work you get to do. The work your kids are doing is under the line. So as that line moves up, as we become more mature, as our kids become more mature, our job gets easier as a parent. Because at stage 2, we and our kids and everyone around us stops fighting and starts cooperating. At stage 2, you don't want any trouble. You want to keep the peace, so you're willing to negotiate and work out. It is. Okay, and when our kids get to that level of maturity, they get to have more control. Fun, huh? But we're not stopping there because we got one more stage. Now, stage 3 is the most mature of these 3 stages. At stage 3, it's all about responsibility and taking initiative. I love that word. In fact, I think if cooperation is the dividing line between stage 1 and stage 2, then initiative is the dividing line between 2 and 3. That's where they step up. They demonstrate empathy and moral values and ethics. They're willing to serve others because of this empathy that they have and the appreciation they have for the impact that they carry. Basically, they're doing the right things for the right reasons. And you might be thinking, oh, that's La La Land, right? I'm going to pause that slide for just a minute because I want to comment about this. Notice how, as a parent, you have some instinctual connection to what I've just shared with you. But what I've done is illuminated the obvious. And that's my job, okay, to illuminate the obvious. I get to show you things you already know. But that's the role of a coach. And there's so many obvious things that are unnoticed. Obvious but unnoticed, like the feeling of your shirt. Can you feel it? I can feel mine right now. but I didn't even notice it or feel it until I thought, ask them about their shirt. Now I feel mine, you feel yours. Obvious, but unnoticed until I called it to your attention. Okay, or the fact that we're speaking English. Anybody notice? Some of you, English is not your first or native language, and so you're consciously like, oh yeah, this meeting's in English. But if you were trained and programmed in English like I was, you didn't even notice it until I called it to your attention. It's obvious, but unnoticed. The principles that I'm sharing with you about parenting are obvious, aren't they? It's like, oh yeah, but unnoticed until they're called to your attention. This creates a problem because when we don't notice what our brain's doing, we roll with our programming. Okay, and we can reprogram, but we first have to notice what our brain is doing. And that's why I share these models with you. Now, some of you are still putting some questions into the chat. If you would please just use the Q&A. I'm going to go to the Q&A here in just a little bit and pull them up. I might even invite some of you to come on live with me, and we'll do a little coaching if we've got time for that. So let me finish this model here, and then we'll round it out. The next part, if you can correctly identify what stage your kid is on, okay. I said that without even testing you. Let's test you, shall we? Let's go to my other granddaughter, all right? The oldest one, the 9-year-old. Let's just say that my granddaughter, and her name is Hannah, okay? Let's just say that Hannah, at 9, I'm her dad. No, I'm not her dad, I'm her grandpa. But if I were her parent, and I went to Hannah in a kind, sweet, loving way, like I always use, put that in your notes too. And I say to Hannah, Hannah, sweetie, would you please help with the dishes tonight? Hey, she's 9, right? She can help with the dishes, right? If she's on stage 1, what would be her response? Do you see it? If she, remember, stage 1, they don't want to cooperate. They don't want to be bothered. They're going to throw tantrums. So I'll probably get a response. Either she'll blow me off entirely, like, or whatever. I don't even know what that means. Whatever. Is she going to do it? Probably not. Or it might get more colorful. What do you think I am, your slave? Nobody else ever has to do anything around here. It's always me. I'm going to run away. I want a new family. I'm totally making this up, right? You're like, oh, I don't think you're making it up, Dr. Paul. I've heard that before. Yeah, we all have, okay? Stage 1. Can you all accurately identify stage 1? Okay, awesome. Because I'm going to tell you what to do with each stage here in just a minute. Let's make sure you got it down. So same granddaughter, Hannah, she's 9. But that's irrelevant because it's about stage, not age. We went over this. Let's say I approach Hannah in that kind, sweet, loving approach that I always use as a parent. And I say to her, Hannah, sweetie, would you please help with the dishes? If she's on stage 2, what will her response be? Yes. Yes, you're getting it. Okay. Oh, Dad, I would be happy to help. Can I just finish this thing up first? Okay, she might try to negotiate, right? Well, yeah, I can help. Is it okay if I go out with my friends after? So it might be a negotiation, or it might be just a straight out, sure, yeah. All right, she might not be happy about it. Fine. Then she stomps in there. That's kind of a stage 2 response with a stage 1 attitude, right? But if she's cooperating, she's on stage 2. That's how you can tell. Is my kid cooperating? Will they communicate with me? Got it? Now, let's go to stage 3. Hannah, would you please help with the dishes tonight? Yes, dear Father. And she's got that little gleam on her tooth, right? As she smiles. Ding. Yeah. So, oh, yes, even better. Dad, I already did the dishes. I saw that they needed to be done. I just go check if you want to. I already did them, but I got a half hour on my hands. Is there anything else I can do to help you out today? Then you have to revive Dad because he just passed out on the floor, right? Okay, so just notice this is stage 3. Stage 3 takes initiative. How are we going to handle each of these stages? Which, and by the way, I have seen stage 3 behavior in kids as young as 4 or 5 years old. It's about stage, not age. I'm not saying that's typical of a 4-year-old. It's not what I'm saying. In fact, it's very atypical. But you'll get moments of brilliance from your younger kids showing you these stages of maturity. And you'll also get teenagers who refuse to cooperate and they swear at you. Just notice what stage they're on because that's really important for what we're going to talk about next. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Take some notes, but realize I'm not leaving you hanging. I've got an offer for you too, okay? So hang around for that. I'm going to share that at the end. We can coach you through this. We can give you the resources that you need. It's coming, all right? So, and again, use the Q&A. Jeff's going to respond to a few things here too. All right. Excuse me. I got to keep hydrated or else you're going to lose me and then you'll have to do all the talking. Okay, back to the model. Here we are. When your kids are on stage 1, there's only one thing you need to know. Consequences. Consequences. Why? Because at stage 1, the moral development, the moral reasoning that's happening is asking this question: why should I do this? And the only good answer is either there's something in it for me or I'm going to get clobbered if I don't. I remember Foster Cline and Jim Fay wrote a book years ago called Parenting with Love and Logic. I actually interacted with these guys earlier in my career. I had Jim Fay on my podcast at one point. And I remember them saying, it's kind of like training a German Shepherd. You've got to give them a reason that makes sense to them. And cooperation doesn't even kick in till stage 2. So that means you have to have consequences that do not require cooperation. All right. And if any of you are wondering, like what? I've got a resource for you. Just go to drpauljenkins.com/consequences. You got it? drpauljenkins.com/consequences. And I'll give you a little PDF that'll trigger some thinking about how you come up with consequences that don't require cooperation. Because you don't get that till stage 2. Now you'll notice I've kind of combined, or I've overlapped it. Okay, so consequences blend into stage 2, but you can use a whole different kind of consequences at stage 2, the kind that require cooperation. All right, and that is the key. Okay, now let's go to stage 2 next. If I can get my computer to respond. Here we go. At stage 2, we're still using consequences, the kind that require cooperation, but we're adding communication. Now, you're communicating at all 3 stages, but I'm talking about talking to your kids about principles and reasons and underlying morals and values and ethics that drive why the rules are important. Okay, why do I have to go to school? Well, you can have some communication with them at stage 3. If they're simply refusing to go to school and they're on stage 1 and not talking to you about it, then we just go with consequences that don't require cooperation. All right, so communication. I've heard I've heard so many times, I try to communicate with my kids and they just won't listen. If they won't listen, they're on stage 1. That's why we don't even put communication on there. Now, you're still going to communicate appropriately and respectfully at any of the stages, okay? Let me just go on record saying that. But at stage 2, we can actually use that to teach and inspire and help them to understand the reasons behind all of the limits or rules or things that you're asking them to do. You can communicate at stage 2. That's why I added it there. Now, when we get to stage 3, this is where it gets really fun. And handily, all of these words start with C so that you can remember them better. When we get to stage 3, it's now about, see if I can get it to come up. There it is, consultation. You're going to do some consulting at stage 2, but stage 3 is when your kids come to you. Can you even picture this? Your kids come to you and they're like, Mom, I'm having this problem with such and such. And you're like, oh, well, here's what I think, sweetie. And you give your child your profound wisdom as a loving mother. And your child says, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to apply that and I'll come and let you know how it goes. And then they go home to their own 5 kids. Now, this can happen before they're adults. Trust me, but it's a little surreal sometimes when your kids come to you for consultation. All right, so we got the 3 C's: consequences, communication, consultation. Got it? All of this is combined into a model that looks like this. And you get this as part of what I'm going to offer you. So hang tight as we move into that. In fact, I'm excited to just share that with you now. And your questions, we're going to get to those in just a few minutes. I promise we're going to handle the questions next. Go to the Q&A, and Jeff's going to help to kind of sort through those. If there's some that he can answer quickly here in the masterclass, then he'll do that. And some of them I will bring up here when we get to the Q&A part. And I can see that there's several people who have already submitted. So thank you for that. Here's what we put together for you. Now, I put a website up there, parentingpowerup.com. What would it be like if you could actually have more peace? More peace in your home. More confidence as a parent so that you show up and you're not tipped over by anything. Yes, anything. Look, I've been a shrink for 30 years. You can't shock me. And I can honestly say there's very little that tips me over, especially if it's not happening to me directly, right? I mean, it's always harder when it's your own stuff. But I am a ninja. I am a black belt at positive parenting. And I don't say that to brag. I say that in acknowledgement of a 30-year practice where that's all I've thought about. So the principles of positive psychology absolutely work. And when you know how to use them, you have more confidence. I hope you're feeling at least a little of that already today. Your kids will start listening and you're not yelling. What would that be like? You say something calmly and they're like, oh, and they listen in. This transforms family cultures. The tools that are included in the Positivity Power Up, the Parenting Power Up. I mentioned another product. The Positivity Power Up is part of your personal development program, and we'll handle that in a different training. The Parenting Power Up is what gives you these tools. I put a website up there, parentingpowerup.com. That site is live. It is open. In fact, let me show you what that looks like. Because if you go to the Parenting Power Up, or not the parentingpowerup.com, the program is called the Parenting Power Up. You don't need the in the URL. Parenting Power Up Let me show you what you're going to get there. I think you're going to like this. It'll take you to a sales page. Okay, so there's a lot of things there. If you scroll down the page, you're going to see all kinds of information. So you can read to your heart's content. If you want to know what's about this thing, tell me more. Here's all you need to know. You can have more peace in your home. You can have more confidence as a parent. Your kids can listen to you without yelling at them. And this transforms family cultures. This is all available to you. When you purchase the Parenting Power Up, here's what we put together. This course is valued at $130. We're putting it on sale for you, okay? For $49, you get the entire Parenting Power Up. This includes 18 audio lessons that Vicki and I recorded together. I wish Vicki could have been here with me today. But she sends her love and greetings, and she and I collaborated on this. So you get the mom's perspective, who is also a professional speech language pathologist, and she's worked with children and parents her entire career. You get me, PhD in clinical psychology, and you get our experience together raising 4 kids who are no longer kids. They're all adults, and they're raising our grandkids now. So we're bringing all of that to the table. 18 audio lessons, 20 videos in a series, step by step. So you get the video, you get the audio, and then we're going to give you a couple of bonuses just because you joined us here live today. Bonus number 1 is a 5-day challenge to get your kids to listen without yelling. Now you can go find this on YouTube if you want, but we're throwing it in as a bonus here too. It'll be all curated right in your learning center in the Parenting Power Up. That's a $100 value that we're including for free. And I just told my team this last week, and they're like, okay, we'll have to revise the website. I'm like, give it to them. The 2 books you're getting for free. Pathological Positivity, that's a $19.95 retail value. We're going to give you your digital copy for free as soon as you sign in. And then Portable Positivity, also free. This is a mini book. I think I've got one here. Yeah, here it is. Check this out. Isn't it cute? It'll fit in your pocket. And you can get a print version of this if you want to, but I'm giving you the free digital versions of both of these books when you sign up. And like I said, you can read all about it here if you want to, but if you are ready to jump in, just click that orange button, take me to the order form. Pretty easy. Fill out your billing information, your payment information. Yes, complete my order, and you are in. That easy. Now, I have to tell you something about this because my team and I have been working in the background to create an entirely new Parenting Power Up experience. And you are the first ones that I have ever offered it to. And I'm excited to offer it to you. Today, September 5th, is the launch for the new Parenting Power Up. Now, some of you who are joining the web class today might be thinking, wait, I've already bought it. Yes, we have an option for you to get into the new one. We'll be sharing that in the next week or so. But for those of you who are joining new today, you will get the new platform, the first ones ever to be there. And we are so excited to offer that to you. I won't bother you with all the details about why I think that's cool, because I've spent months building this. But the thing that you get that's cool is more peace in your home, more confidence as a parent, that transformed family culture that I talked about where your kids are listening and you're not yelling. Does that sound good? So Parenting Power Up, all one word, parentingpowerup.com. Go grab it. Those bonuses are available for you as well. Now, I didn't come to sell that today. I came to share with you the 4 essential elements of positive parenting so that you can master this most important job in the world. Let me just share one other little thing about this, and then I'm going to get to your questions, okay? I'm ready to go to the Q&A next. And if you've asked a question and you'd like to raise your hand and come on and talk to me live, I probably will have time to do a few of those too. So raise your hand if you want to talk to me live. Otherwise, I'm going to go through the questions here and answer everything that I can. There's two kinds of learning. Okay, and this is in response to a couple of the questions I'm seeing. So I'm actually getting into that right now. There's breakthrough learning. Breakthrough learning is when the lights go on. You have an aha experience. It's like, oh, and something lights up and it rings and sings inside of your heart and soul. That's a breakthrough experience. Hopefully you've had some of that here today as we've been talking. And then there is transformational learning. Transformational learning is when we actually reprogram the equipment. And that is a process. It's not an event. I say that to you because some of you are asking. I'm combining a couple of different questions here. I already know that this is important. Why is it so hard? Why do I keep slipping into my old ways? Because it requires some transformational learning. It's just like learning a new language, you guys. You're going to have to stick with it for a while. I told you earlier that I'm a black belt in positivity. I am a black belt. I do it all the time. It's my practice. It's my life. And so I've gotten really good at it. You can reprogram your own mind, and it's going to take some reps. All right. Let me get a little beverage here, and I'm going to Jenna, who says, I'm a single mother, blessed with support from my parents and other close family. However, members of my village are inconsistent with positive caregiving. Yes. And Jenna, thank you for bringing that up. This isn't her old question. I'm just commenting as we go. Who do we want to trust? Do we want to trust our community, our world, the politicians, the government, the school system? Who do we want to trust to raise our kids? We've got a big responsibility here. And this is what I love about a community like you guys. You guys showed up today because you are positive parents. What if we could spread that? What if we could help other parents catch the vision of this? I mean, and I've got some other things that we won't talk about today, where I'm creating communities of positivity practitioners. If that interests you, we got to have a chat. Okay, my children are 11 and 13 and seem to be stuck in stage 1 of moral development. And you really notice it, don't you, Jenna, when they get to that age, because they get bigger and they have more control, whether you want to give it to them or not. 11 years old has ADHD, ODD. So and by the way, that means attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or oppositional defiant disorder. Jenna, I don't know if you're talking about an actual diagnosis or the behavioral manifestations. Either way, it's kind of disruptive. So I know consistency is especially important for her. They do not comply well and often throw tantrums. What are things I can do to help them mature? Thank you for your question, Jenna. The best thing that you can do first is take care of yourself. Second, take care of your team. You're thinking, oh, yeah, I was listening, Dr. Paul. I took some notes. Look, that's the best thing you can do. Now, when it comes to love and discipline, that's a process, and you might need some practice. You might need some coaching. You might need a community to help you with that. That's part of the team development from essential element number 2. Basically, Jenna, when we get into the coaching, the positive parent coaching that we do, we're helping people to answer exactly that question. What are the specific things I can do to apply these principles that you've taught, and based on this model that I shared with you today? We have to be in control of ourselves. That's important to parents, because then you have to come in on the top and take as much control as you need to with your kids. And if your daughter is really on stage 1, you've got a little bit of work to do. That's for sure. Miranda, Alberta, Canada. Thanks for joining us from Alberta. I expected to see that in the chat, but thank you for putting it in the Q&A. Brenda, how do you deal with defiance in a 6-year-old? The same way, Brenda, that you deal with defiance in a 16-year-old, except that what you control is more limited with older children. So, and a 6-year-old is different from a 6-month-old, okay? Because you get a lot of defiance from a 6-month-old, but you're not asking about a 6-month-old because you just put them in their car seat or whatever, right? I mean, they're defying you. That's irrelevant. For an infant, they don't want to go to the store with you. Okay, as you're strapping them in. All right, so, but a 6-year-old is a little different. So we have to get clear about what we control and what we don't. And again, this is part of what we get into in the coaching, and you're going to learn a lot about that in the Parenting Power Up as well. There's a lot of examples in there, especially for this age of kids. So keep this in mind, Brenda. It's about what can I control? Because if my 6-year-old is on stage 1, I have to pick consequences that do not require cooperation. Look, cooperation is on the dividing line between 1 and 2. You see that? So defiance, and the word defiance implies they're not cooperating. That means you're dealing with a stage 1, so we got to pick some consequences that don't require cooperation, and we're going to deliver them with a smile. This drives kids nuts. If mom's smiling, kids are thinking, okay? Anonymous attendee asks, how do I help my child to self-regulate? The basic answer here is we're trying to move kids along, all right? Because self-regulation is a characteristic of stage 3, all right? And it's about stage, not age. Now, can a younger child learn to self-regulate? Absolutely. Probably not an infant, because even though it's about stage, not age, there are some age correlates. Okay, and I'm hesitating right now because I'm not sure if I should share that with you. You can handle it, right? Okay, do not, I repeat, do not go out there and quote Dr. Paul saying, if my kid's at age whatever, they should be doing whatever. I'm giving you these developmental correlates just so you'll have an idea, so that you can get your expectations in line. Stage 1, the age correlate for normally developing neurotypical kids is about age 0 birth through about age 7 or 8. Okay, that's when we bump up against a developmental shift, because at around age 7 or 8, kids are developing more metacognitive skills, more moral reasoning. Okay, hopefully they've learned what they needed to earlier in life to jump over to stage 2, which lasts, I'm going to regret telling you any ages, because it's about stage, not age, but just roll with it. Okay, from about age 7 or 8 up through about age 15, 16 is stage 2. Typically speaking, for normally developing, age-typical, neurotypical kids, and there's so many exceptions, so don't quote me on this. I'll come after you. All right. That's stage 2, where we would normally expect that kids should be developing some of these skills like cooperation and negotiation and working together with people. Okay, now, here's a little pro tip. When you feel one of these 3 feelings, frustration, anger, or resentment, those 3, usually that means that you're expecting your kid to be somewhere up here and you're observing behaviors that are down here. And then you, as a parent, feel frustrated, angry, resentful. It's also helpful to see your kids if they're feeling frustrated or angry or resentful, because that usually means, hey, there's something out of whack here. So just notice that. All right. That I could spend more time on a lot of these are very similar too. Miranda, will this be recorded? Yes, it will. And those of you who registered will get a link to watch the recording. Those of you who are on YouTube, this will stay up for a while. It'll go down after a while too. So, but if you've registered, you'll get a link. Anonymous attendee, my 7-year-old has very big feelings. How can I help them regulate these better at school? I think this might be the same anonymous attendee. So we just kind of talked about that, but the school setting is a little different because you have less control. This is why Element number 2 is to build and develop and strengthen your team. All right, so personal development, team development, love, and discipline. Those are our 4 essential elements. When it comes to the school, Anonymous, I want you to get in cahoots with the teacher. All right, you form a relationship with that teacher because that teacher is on your team. Nina is asking, I want to be in stage 3 with my son who is 20 and moved out in May. Okay, this adds an interesting element, Nina, because a 20-year-old is in most jurisdictions an adult, and they are now responsible for their own selves. All right, back to your question. Moved out in May, but I call an end of nagging. I have been working all this August about nagging less on phone calls. Then I hear myself nagging. How do I nag less? Oh, Nina, this one is hard because one of the 4 essential elements of effective positive parenting is to love them. And here's the thing, if you love them, if you choose to love them, you, dear Nina, will feel some pain. And everybody else, you just put yourself in Nina's shoes for a minute because you love them, you care so much about their life, but guess what? You're not in charge of their life. And as an adult yourself, you learn some stuff. You know some things, and the things that you know can help them. We talk about this in our parent coaching all the time. We have to be detached from the outcomes. Please, please do not detach from your son. Detach from his outcomes. Somebody has to be attached to them, and if it's you, it's not him. Now, I say that as if it's easy. This is a simple concept. Simple and easy aren't the same thing. An anonymous question: with young adults who are still in stage 1 with diagnosed mental illness, including ADHD, how do we discern appropriate consequences? Yes, they're still living at home. Oh, okay. When you threw that last part in, Anonymous, and forget about the diagnoses and everything else. Diagnoses tend to drag people toward this side of the model, okay? So if they've got ADHD or mental illness issues, they're probably functioning in a less mature way. When you said they're still living at home, that tells me a lot about what you control. Because when they're adults, you don't control a lot. But if they're in your home, you're still providing for them quite a bit. You do control what you provide. Okay, I'm going to give you that just as kind of a little insight as to what you can do. Now you want to stay cool. Most parents make the mistake of going back to the 3 R's of parenting: rant, rave, and rescue, where we bawl them out and we bail them out. And I'm sorry, folks, that doesn't work. All right, here's where we're at the end of our time today. I've still got several questions. Sarah, I see your hand up. I'm going to take Sarah's hand here in just a minute. For those of you who want to stick around, I'm going to stay here for a few more minutes, and then I'll turn you loose to go do whatever else you had in mind. But I'm going to answer a few more questions. I'm going to stick around maybe for up to 15 minutes, okay? Before we let you go, those of you who are still sticking around but need to leave, Parenting Power Up, all one word, parentingpowerup.com. Come and get it. It is your toolbox for effective parenting. We've got more that you can do from there if you want more than that. But don't worry about that right now. Let's just get these models, these principles into your hands because it is transformational. Let's go, Sarah, come talk to me. I'm going to give you an invitation to come on as a panelist. Then turn on your mic and your camera. Here we go. Here comes Sarah. I'm going to move the questions aside for just a minute. Lauren, Michelle, and another anonymous. I've got your questions queued up. And then Patty, I see you in line too. We'll see what we have time for here. Okay, Sarah.
Hey.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my question.
Let's see. I got to turn your volume up. There we go. I think I can hear you. Try it again.
Thanks for taking my question.
Now I hear you. I think everybody else heard you, but I had my volume down. I'm happy to take your question. What is your question?
So I have an 8-year-old boy, just one, and I've been giving him the consequence situation where, well, if you don't want to eat breakfast, the food that I'm giving you, then you won't eat, or you'll have to wait until lunch, or if you, this is the only option. If you don't want the option, then this will be the consequence or whatever. Well, he's doing it to me now. He's like, if you don't do this or that, then I'm not going to get dressed for school if you don't do this or that. Or he's doing it to his friends outside. He's like, if you don't do this or that, then I'm going inside. And he comes inside. And I'm like, what are you doing inside? He's like, I told them if they didn't stop doing this, I was going inside, and now I'm inside. So I'm wondering, is that healthy? Because shouldn't he have negotiation skills to say, if you're not doing what I want, then let's work through it or something, and not just bam, given a consequence and making people, forcing them to either do what he wants or else. And that's my parenting style right now. I thought that was what you're supposed to do.
You know what, Sarah? There's so much about this that I think is positive and healthy. The first thing that I noticed is, oh, he's picking up on this. Okay. He's seeing what you're doing, and he's also seeing that it's working. So that's part of what I interpreted all of that to mean. That's good news. Okay. In fact, I really encourage parents to share this with their kids.
Oh.
And when I share it with kids, I call it parent psychology. So that they can understand how their parents are thinking, because it's their parents that are controlling a lot of their world still.
Right.
So your little guy is picking up on things. He's understanding. Have you introduced him to this model at all?
No, I haven't.
Let me just give you a little resource. If you go to the YouTube channel.
I have seen it. I've listened to all your videos for like years. I have definitely looked at it. And
have you seen the one? There's one called How to Convince Your Parents to Get You a Dog.
I haven't looked at that one.
We'll look that one up.
Okay.
And you watch it first, but then share it with your 8-year-old.
Okay.
You know, some parents are, oh, I don't want my kid to have a dog. Look, it's not about whether you get a dog or not. Okay. That's irrelevant. But I'm teaching, you're going to see how I teach kids this model. There's another one called How to Convince Your Parents to Get You a Phone.
Woo.
It's for older kids.
Much older.
Okay? But your little guy is tracking this. He's onto it. When he really gets solid on stage 2, he's cooperating with you. He's working with you. He's trying to negotiate. And it sounds like he is. That's when we want to start inviting him to stage 3. Because it's not about manipulating people to do what you want them to do, or else.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I might be teaching him wrong, and now he's all manipulating the kids. If you don't do what I want, I'm going inside. I think that sounds bad.
Just one other insight here, Sarah, because this is all part of a developmental process for him. So I wouldn't worry too much that he's picking up on and using it. Let's celebrate that, because he is seeing it.
Okay.
And he's experimenting with it a little bit. Now we can bring him along and help him to do better moral reasoning about it, but we're talking about 2 to 3 instead of 1 to 2.
Okay.
Now, if he's truly doing it just to manipulate people, then that's more of a stage 1 thing, and we can identify that. There can be appropriate consequences, but I'm thinking let's celebrate the fact that he's starting to understand this. Maybe give you some language where you can say, you know what, that was kind of a stage 1 thing that you did with your friends. Are they really refusing to cooperate? And if they are, yeah, I'm glad he can get himself out of there. If something is going to be, you know, dangerous or risky or whatever, he's learning the skill to walk away from that and to separate himself. So that's another positive thing that I'm seeing in the midst of all of this. You know, I was going to share one other thought with you. And then I went down a little rabbit hole and I may have forgotten it. Hang on, maybe it'll come back. No, it's not coming back. But this isn't the last time that, you know, you can ask some questions. So
thanks. I really appreciate it. It does, because I think of it as a bad thing, but maybe it's not so bad because he is experimenting. I really like that wording, that he doesn't know. He's trying it out, just like me when I started experimenting with it.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, and give him all kinds of kudos for that. And there's more after that. When you share the model with him, then you have a tool and you can say, does that help you to feel a little more control?
Hmm.
Let's see what happens if we take that up another step.
Right.
And then you're helping to move him along through those stages. I think you're doing awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for jumping in. Let's go to, now we've got some hands coming up. I may have time to get to some of these hands. Looks like some of the questions are being handled by Jeff in the back office. Michelle is asking, is this possible as stepchildren? Yes. I have them for the week, and then they go with their mom on the weekend, and I feel like I have to start all over on Monday. Yeah, Michelle, you're talking about a situation in a multi-household family. In a multi-household family, your control is limited. All right. So we want to keep focused on what we control as parents. Now, the stages still apply. Okay. If your kids come home on Monday and they're just like disrespectful and not obeying any of the rules and stuff, then we're on stage one. Right. But we expect some level of disruption anytime kids have changes from one to the next. In fact, I used to do child custody evaluations for the court, and there's a term called post-visitation syndrome. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about, Michelle. We expect a certain amount of that as a normal thing. So have a lot of grace and forgiveness, but then we get right back to, look, if you're on stage one, there's going to be some consequences, okay? Let's see, Patty, you want to come talk to me? I'm going to give you an invitation to turn on your mic and your camera. Let's see what Patty's got. I still got a few minutes. You guys remember parentingpowerup.com. Get the tool, okay? There's more resources than that we're not going to talk about here on today's call. I've mentioned we've got coaching. I've got a practitioner program. You guys can take this to a full-on professional endeavor if you want. I've got ways to help. Let's see, did we get you in? Patty, I'm not sure that went through. Let's try again. Oh, you declined. Okay, maybe you're not available right now. Let's go to Grace. Grace, let's try you. And then Patty, I'll give you another invitation if your hand stays up. Otherwise, you can click and just lower it. Here, I'll lower the hand for you and you can raise it again if you want to come back on. All right, Grace, did you get an invitation? Here comes Grace. Jenny, you're on deck. You've still got a few minutes.
Hi. So
Hey.
sorry. So
Hey.
sorry. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome. I hear you. I don't see you. Do you have a camera or do I just get to talk to you? There she is.
Yes. Yes. Hi. Hi. I
What's-
have a 12-year-old who's into lots of video games, and sometimes he doesn't want to do his schoolwork. He's a homeschooler, and he also does YouTube recording. And at some point about a week or so ago, he got really frustrated to where he feels like he hasn't done enough, and he's comparing himself to other I guess YouTuber. He's only 12 turning on 13, and he gets so frustrated that he gets angry, and to the point that he will disrespect and cusses its own brother. And recently I just took his computer away. I had to lie about it, which the only way for me to take the computer, so I pretended it was broken. And he's just been calmer than before. But how do I help him not to think so much about like video games or his recording, because he gets so occupied by it and he can't do it, that it frustrates him and he gets angry. He goes, what am I going to do right now? I have nothing. I have no computer, no nothing. And he's not interested in anything else.
You are talking about something that is such a common issue that we as parents are dealing with today. And our parents didn't have to deal with that because there
Mhm.
wasn't screen time when I was a kid.
Yes, yes.
Television, but that was about the extent of it, right?
Hmm.
Now we've got YouTube, we've got social media, we've got
Yeah.
video games. I mean, there's so much that our kids are influenced by that we weren't. And so this is a common thing that comes up in a lot of our coaching and our parenting powwows that we hold in the community. The parenting power up that I've talked to you guys about today is
Mhm.
going to have some ideas along those lines. If you heard me talking to Sarah, excuse me, the place I would start, Grace, is here. Making sure that you understand this model, but also sharing it with your son. Because this will help him understand. When I'm sharing with kids this model, and I remind them, look, this is how parents think. I'm guessing if I interviewed your son and I said, so what's going on? He'd be like, Mom's taking away my computer.
Hmm.
That's what he thinks the problem is, right?
Hmm.
But you did that for a good reason because you're worried about how he's using his time, how he's making his decisions, whether he's being responsible or not. And so I would want to get on the same page with him by helping him understand, look, you can have access to a computer. That's a lot of freedom and control, right?
Hmm.
But to get there, we need to help mom understand that you're mature enough for it. And then we get into a conversation about how is she going to know that you're mature enough for it? Well, by keeping up on your schoolwork and by doing your chores and by being responsible and respectful around the home, things like that. So the model becomes the foundational piece with the kids too. And at 12, he's totally old enough to understand this. I would remember I gave 2 videos to Sarah. One was how to convince your parents to get a dog. The other one is how
Hmm.
to convince your parents to get you a phone.
So.
They're both on YouTube. You can just go search them there on my channel. And that will give you an idea of how I present this to kids who are your son's age. And either one would be good for him, but I'm thinking even the older one, the phone one, since we're dealing with screen time and things like that. And he may already
Yeah.
have a phone, but this will help to address that issue.
Okay.
That'll
All
give
right. It's just, yes, thank you. It seems like that he just needs to do something all the time. He gets bored easily. Like he'll watch YouTube and it's like, oh, YouTube is boring. I don't want that anymore. He
That's a-
just wants to constantly doing something. I guess I don't know what it is.
I
Seems
think
like he's
that, Grace, as you bring that up, I'm thinking we have probably created that as a culture.
Mm,
That our kids are constantly wanting to be entertained.
yeah,
I want a screen in my face or I feel like I'm doing nothing.
yeah,
And we've lost touch a little
yeah,
bit with some of the old work ethic or get outside and play or,
yeah,
something we did as kids. Our kids aren't in the same world that we were in. But I think that there's some value to some of those old school activities that we used to do.
yeah.
So I hear you. I appreciate your question. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for your help, doctor.
Thank you. Let's go to Jenna. I see your hand up. I said I'd stick around for 15. I'm having so much fun. I'm going to stay for just a few more minutes. I probably won't get to everyone's question, which is just, it's not possible in the time frames that we have here. But there's resources. Okay, get the parenting power up first. That's where you start. And I'll be sharing some other resources with you as we move forward. Hey, Jenna.
Hi, how are you?
Are you the same Jenna that I answered another question?
Yes, I was in an appointment, so I was hoping to talk to you when I left.
Well, I'm glad I get to talk to you. Is there some element of it, of your question that we didn't answer yet, or is there another?
Sure.
Question? What do you
Yeah.
got?
So my daughter has ADHD and ODD diagnosis.
Okay.
And my biggest problem with her is if there's a behavior that I want to stop right away. Like maybe it's unsafe or it's, something like that where I don't have time to negotiate or something.
Right.
I can't get her to stop. And so how can I get someone who is so defiant to stop a behavior that I don't have time to negotiate with?
Time pressure.
Yes.
Something that creates an issue for parents. Usually it's not an issue for your kid. So let's say that, you're out in public or something and is it a daughter? Did I catch that correctly?
A daughter, yes.
And so your daughter is acting up, whatever that means, okay? And you're feeling the pressure because other people are looking or you need to get somewhere pretty fast. And so you don't have a lot of control over that, but you're in a setting also where you feel either time pressure or social pressure. That's a disadvantage to us as parents. And it reminds me of the rules for power struggles. And I don't know if you've heard these already.
Yes, I've watched your videos on those.
So do you remember what the rules were? Number one, avoid them. But don't get into a power struggle unless you have to ask yourself, am I willing to die on this hill before I march up?
Right.
To the big enough issue, because we're not going to sweat the small stuff. And I'm not saying that it's not important, but some things are more important than they are urgent. So there are times if you're feeling time pressure, you can put that off and deal with it later on. Now, it's always a little more effective if you can do it in the moment, but you don't always have that convenience, as you've noticed. Okay.
Right.
So we're going to avoid the power struggle if we can. We're going to win it if we can avoid it. And that means you always pick things that you control. And as long as you pick things that you control, that actually is rule number 3. You pick the issues. You pick the issue that the control battle will be around, because if you pick something you control, there's no control battle. You simply control it. So the fact that your daughter is dealing with some diagnoses, okay, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, tells me that you've been dealing with this disruptive behavior for a while.
Yeah, she's 11 and we sought therapy when she was 5.
Okay.
So we've been doing therapy since she was 5 and it hasn't gotten better.
So what I've noticed is with those diagnoses, it simply pulls us this direction, okay? It brings us down to a lower stage, because at 11, remember, it's about stage, not age.
Right.
At 11, we would expect, normally, developmentally speaking, that she would be up here and she'll be cooperating with us and we're negotiating and we've got more of a give and take. But any diagnosis, like the ones that you mentioned, disruptive behavior diagnoses, some mood disorder diagnoses, certainly some of the spectrum kind of diagnoses, tend to pull us down this way. And we've got kids who are old enough to be here, but we're still seeing a lot of stage 1. So it becomes extremely important that you as a mom can identify, what do I control? Because remember, we're going to use consequences on stage 1 that don't require cooperation. And then we can deliver it calmly and in a pleasant way. And then our kids start to feel the full weight of their choices, where their brain isn't always connecting it up for them because of the diagnosis.
Right.
But whatever the purpose, whatever the cause of it is, we're dealing with stage 1 behavior. So the more you can learn about this model and having effective consequences that don't require cooperation, that's how we're going to encourage her to move forward in this model. So
Okay.
you're on the right track.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Doc.
Thanks for jumping in. Good to talk to you today. You guys, I wish I could get to everyone who has the questions today. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up here. Thank you for being on board. Remember, parentingpowerup.com. I got you. Okay. Get those resources for the cost of a family dinner out. In fact, I'm afraid you can't get a lot of family dinners for under $50, but we've got you, okay? That gets you all of the tools. You get the bonuses of the 5-day challenge and the 2 books that I'm offering for free, just as you join and grab the Parenting Power Up, okay? And there's more to come. There's more to come. So watch your email and any correspondence from me and we'll get you set, okay? Thanks for being here, you guys. I'm gonna turn you loose.